Everyone goes to car shows and sees all the beautiful paint, the chrome, the panache, the pizzazz, everyone dressed up, looking the part, whether they're dressed in period to match their cars, etc. There's a little bit of a dirty truth behind that, which is that I want to say most cases, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say most cases, it's not a reach to say that a lot of them are still being screwed together as they're going on the show field. Everything goes down to the last second. A lot of the Pebble Beach cars, you see a lot of them barely make it through the Pebble Beach tour, which, you know, you would think, okay, this is, people would sort of logically think, oh, this car won its class at Pebble Beach. That must mean that it's the best in the world. No, it means that it looked very, very pretty on that particular day. There is no warrants nor claims to the car's mechanical solidity or anything else of that nature. In addition to buying the right car and doing the right research, presenting everything the right way is a big part of the game. In Amelia Island, I stretched that to the boundaries. I brought down two rather different cars. The first time that a Jaguar XJR15 had ever been shown on U.S. soil at a really actually at any show, let alone a major show. Amelia at that time did not recognize supercars as being worthy of being on a show, as worthy of being judged on this by the same criteria as other show cars on that show field. They came to their senses. God bless them. God love those guys. They came to their senses the following year. But anyway, it was just to have them on the field was a big deal, very important to me. I'd advocated for it for a while. And then the other thing I brought down was a 1937 BMW 328 Roadster. For those of you who are not aware of what that is a car that single-handedly defined BMW in the pre-war era. One of the most successful sports racers of the pre-war era. That motor later became, it was the designs were taken as a war prize after the end of World War II, and that motor was still produced through the 1960s as the Bristol motor. Rack and pinion steering, independent front suspension. That car was so ahead of its time. So far ahead of its time. And it was very, very successfully raced. So a lot of pre-war cars are what we refer to as bitsas, which means bits of this, bits of that. They're not necessarily pure. Of the BMW 328 Roadsters that were produced, it's believed that less than 40 cars survive with their numbers matching bodies, engines, and frames, which is less than 10% of the cars that were produced when they were new. And that's not an unusual thing for pre-war cars. So this is one of those cars. It's the earliest produced car that's in private hands, expertly restored, but was an older restoration and kind of dusting it off to be shown in the United States. And I sent the car to a friend of mine to be detailed, and like a sort of a quasi show detail, which a show detail is not what the name implies. It's not a paint correction and cleaning of things. At that level, it's much deeper. You're going in and you're touching up, painting, replating, doing this, doing that. That's why when if someone sees that a show car had a $30,000 detail, people go, "Oh my God, how'd you spend 30 grand on a detail?" It's not really a detail. It's much deeper than that. So I sent the car to him to be detailed. There was a little bit of paint that had been flaking off the exhaust, and I wanted to have the exhaust refinished. I sent the car well ahead of the show, and as life happens. I get distracted with this. It was early on in the history of Cultivated. I was running all over the place doing all sorts of different things, and showtime comes around and the car gets picked up, and I had looked at the car maybe 2 weeks prior, and said, "Hey, what's going on with the exhaust?" "Oh yeah. And my friend says, "Oh yeah. Well, it'll be on in time." So then I go about my life. Car goes to be picked up prior to going down to the show. I'm not there. The car just gets loaded at the detail shop. I then go and receive it on the other side. Car, I'm up in the trailer. Car looks amazing. Everything looks really good. And I turn the key, fire it up, and I think, man, this car sounds throatier than I remembered. I back it off. Then I go to pull it on the field, and as soon as I start moving the car, I go, We are totally screwed. This car has no exhaust on it. We're at, I would say, the assuredly the second most significant show in the United States. And I'm there riding around in something that at anything above idle sounds like a Civic with its muffler that's been chopped off. Like it's loud, like noticeably. We were placing cars in the field the day before. This is the day, like the afternoon before the show, and I'm trying to figure out how to get this exhaust down here. We call a bunch of air freight companies. None of them can take it. Can take the exhaust and fly it down. We're trying to figure out how to fly this exhaust down. This may sound crazy, but if you think about like the amount of time, energy, and money that's gone into getting this car to this point, I'm not saying that it's going to be cheap to ship an exhaust, but in for a penny, in for a pound, as the Brits would say. No one can air freight it. So then my buddy Mike, the guy who owns the shop, has a genius idea. He's going to have one of his shop hands grab the exhaust from the detailer, go to the airport, buy him a ticket. He's going to check a piece of luggage, AKA the exhaust, and come down on the other side. Okay, maybe it's, like wrap it up, pat it, do everything that we possibly can. Wasn't that long. That was how we were going to do it. So his shop hand successfully picks the exhaust up, packages it, does everything, wraps it all up, goes to the airport with it, goes to check the exhaust in, and they ask him if there's anything flammable in the contents of his luggage. This fine young gentleman is far too honest, and he has the nerve to say yes, which, by the way, is probably incorrect because there was definitely nothing that was combustible in there. But we'll leave that aside. So anyway, so he's rejected, not allowed to check the exhaust, so we're out. So I'm out of options at this point. I spent all this money, I spent all this time, I spent all this energy, and I've come this far to make this kind of a mistake. I sleep on it, and I just sort of resign myself to failure. I wake up and I'm pulling the car covers off the car, and then it hits me, and I realize, okay, everyone who shows always keeps all their stuff behind the car, usually very close to the car. The exhaust comes out of the right side of the rear of the car, then hits me. All right, I take both of my car covers, everything else I have, and I just start stuffing it all. Like I stuff the car covers underneath the car, like behind the car, chairs, detailing towels. I make a mess. So then the judges come around, but that wasn't the only solution because if you have enough time, the judges are going to figure out there's no exhaust on this car. Judges can't spend forever with a car. They're on a schedule, and usually that schedule is 10 minutes. It's usually 10 minutes per car. Reading the rule book, I then think to myself, all right, all I have to do is put on a fantastic song and dance for 10 minutes and run the clock. And I do. I'm laying it on thick. I'm enthusiastically telling the story of this car. I'm doing an Oscar-worthy performance and telling this car's amazing story, which it's a good story, but I'm just laying into it. And whenever one of them starts to walk to the back of the car, I go, oh, wait, and I but I need to show you this one detail. And then I open the book and as they start to walk again, oh, wait, no, but I need to show you this. And I kept them occupied. I do not believe that they noticed the fact that there was no exhaust on that car because I ran that clock so hard that literally they said, okay, we just need to look around this car. We have to wrap up, but this is a beautiful car with great history. All the entrance, you get handed a beeper. Yes, beepers still exist. You get handed a beeper and it goes off if you need to get called to your car. And you get called to your car if you won something. So at around 11 o'clock, my beeper starts going off. I was in shock because I had zero expectation of winning anything, to the point where I had gone with a couple of friends and clients. We'd already gone to the bar. The beeper goes off, and initially I thought that there was a mistake. But we sort of saunter back over to the car, and lo and behold, the judges are standing around holding a blue ribbon in front of the car and congratulating us for bringing a car. They said their words were, it was no contest. This was far and away our favorite car, and I was absolutely in shock. And getting to drive to the winner's circle with that car, was a fantastic experience, especially also because it was my first time driving to the winter circle at Amelia Island. So, and I'd brought cars previously. So to be able to, so going to the winter circle, and the other thing is, you drive across stage. So, and remember, I still have no exhaust. So I'm trying to not like let on the fact that I made it to the winter circle with no exhaust. So I'm just barely trying to idle this thing without it being glaringly obvious that I'm, riding around with an open exhaust. But yeah, we got there. We got there in the end. If anyone noticed it, they certainly didn't say anything to me. It was a very pleasantly surprising experience. I will always look back on it with fondness and shock as well. When you think about the bare minimum tens, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars that people spend on getting these cars there, the thing to consider is the effect that it has on the car's provenance and ergo its value if it wins and what it wins. If you have a best in class, I'm not going out on a limb, depending on your car, of course, but I'm not going out on a limb and saying that a best in class win can boost the value of your car 5-10%, which may not sound like a lot, but if you have a $2 million car, and your car is just worth an extra $200,000, and you spent $30,000 to get there, that's a solid ROI. That's just a best in class. I mean, like for example, best in show Pebble Beach. You want to talk best in show Pebble Beach? That's a case where you have a car that, let's say and now of course, best in show Pebble Beach, you'll have for any of those big pre-war cars, you'll have done at a top place $1.5 million, $2 million just in the restoration. If your car goes from being worth $2 million to being worth 4.5, worthwhile endeavor. Now, is it a complete moonshot? Well, of course it is. But who doesn't love a moonshot?
When you get a ticket, it might look something like this, but the first thing that you need to do is take a picture of that ticket and send it to 305-305. That will get the ticket clinic on your case immediately. They've got brick and mortar offices in Georgia, Florida, and California, but they can help you find a ticket no matter where you get it in the United States by helping you find a local attorney that will do everything they can to help you avoid costly fines, insurance premium increases, points on your license, risk of suspension, even jail time. They've helped me out with this ticket and many others, and a lot of my friends as well. So check them out now at the link in the description below, or again, text your ticket to 305-305 to get the ticket clinic on your case. They are the perfect partner in your fight against any speeding ticket.